To our knowledge, we only know of one other park, and we've only heard of that one, and it's out on the East Coast that portrays the Great Depression. We're the only one. You got to go way back to the very beginning. I was born and raised on a farm in northern Wexford County. And as was typical of the day, as soon as I grew up and graduated from high school, I couldn't get away from the farm quick enough. But I continued to look at old tractors and buy old farm equipment until I had quite a collection. And then one day I happened to be fortunate enough to be able to purchase this sawmill that's behind me. Took a lot of pictures of it and started moving it home and piling it up in the front yard, and my wife became just a little bit distraught over the situation and said, enough, no more junk in the front yard.
He had old rusty tractors and all kinds of things in the yard, and I said, why don't you set them up over there? You've got this piece of property, and set them up over there and show them to people so they can see them, and I can clean the yard up.
And so we brought the sawmill over here and set it up, and that's how Wellington Farm Park got started.
This whole park was designed around the year 1932. Like the use of the steam engine in the sawmill, that's something that you could commonly see in 1932. It was at the early stages or just before when gasoline power came into usage, so that's why you see a steam tractor.
Well, of course, the steam engines are rather priceless, you know, and not only in dollar value, but in aesthetic value. The owner of the steam engine is my son, and I can remember him wanting a steam engine when he was 6 years old. And he finally last year was able to acquire this engine.
Okay, here we go. The steam engine tractor here is running the sawmill. They're actually cutting some of the lumber here. All of the buildings that are built here were built with the lumber that we cut on our sawmill here. People would give us trees, we'd haul them over here and buzz them on up. Other than the fact you had to buy nails and screws or nuts and bolts, but primarily the wood is all from our efforts here.
All the wood that we saw here on the mill is used to build more buildings with. But that's the way it was during the Great Depression, you have to remember.
Here's the blacksmith shop. This is where I happen to be the ornery blacksmith.
Essentially what a blacksmith did is he was a part of the community that would repair things for people, make things for people. So if somebody needed something fixed or they couldn't fix it themselves, they'd see the blacksmith. Back during the time when settlers were moving west in the United States, oftentimes they would burn their house down just to get the nails out of the house, and they'd take the nails with them because all your nails at that time were handmade, and most often they were made by the blacksmith's apprentice, one at a time.
Our country kitchen is right here. This is where we do bake a lot of the items from the grains that we grow here and grind up in our grist mill.
Well, the kitchen is typically 1932. We cook on an old wood range. We have an ice box for our cooler, and we have to do all the work, getting the wood in and filling the wood box, and we bake from scratch. We use our own flour here. We try to make cookies or bread or pies. We a lot of times feed our workers soup when they come in to volunteer, and we make lunch for them. When we have a festival or something special going on, I try to get over here unless we have another volunteer that wants to do it.
Coming around the corner here, of course, as you mentioned before, is the Stittsville Church. Well, 4 years ago when we moved it here, we kept it from destruction. It's 126 years old this year.
It was built in 1882. It was in a community called Stittsville, and it was a logging community. As the logging industry dissipated and left the area, the people left the area too. In 2005, they were going to demolish the church, and Wellington Farm acquired it because we didn't want it destroyed and we wanted it for our park area here.
How far back do you want to go on this? I was before it was moved here. I was over in Stittsville. For the first time, I'd never even heard of Stittsville before. I found out about the church project. That was my first introduction to the Stittsville Church. I believe they said the church was built in 1882, so it's much older than what we proclaim the park to be, which is nice. We did find the original bell to the church. It's sitting in Morristown in a person's front yard, but the person would not donate it to us to go ahead and put it back in the church. So we found a sister bell. This bell is very close to identical to the original bell that was in the church.
Anybody that came here to see the pumpkin chunking, this is it.
The owner of Wellington Farm, Howard Taylor, was always looking, and he still is always looking, for unique and interesting presentations to make to our visitors. And at that time he had seen a story on television about pumpkin chunking and how radical it can get sometimes. So he came up with the idea of building a medieval siege machine.
They do it nationally. They have national meets. The guy that owns the record, or last I knew held the record, was from Howell, and he shot a pumpkin over a mile.
Ranges that we get here, depending on how we set up the trebuchet, can be out to about 100 yards. Well, the world record for pumpkin chucking is close to a mile.
One of our really big things that we do is the event that we do here at Christmas time. That is cool. That is really neat. There's nothing like it in northern Michigan. And it was written up in Country Lines magazine last year. And as a result of that, we were totally sold out. And we anticipate the same thing's going to happen this year. I don't want to give away too much of it because it's kind of a surprise ending, and it's the ending that really does it. But it's phenomenal. You know, that's the thrust of what we're doing here. We're trying to give people an opportunity to actually see and feel and smell and taste what it was like 70 years ago during the Great Depression. And it's amazing to see the smile on a kid's face when he gets to stand on the platform of one of those steam engines when it's running, you know? It's really neat. You know, it's like this. For 35 years, I taught school professionally. But today, I affected kids. And that's our goal.